In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Glory to thee, O Christ, our God and our hope. Glory to thee, O heavenly King. Comfort to the Spirit of truth, who art in all places and fillest all things. Treasure of good things and giver of life. Come and dwell in us and cleanse us from every stain and save our souls, O gracious Lord. Amen. Well, good evening, everyone. Good to see your faces and good to hear your voices. Based on some suggestions that we got before, I thought maybe during Lent we can take, we can focus, we can take a break from Father Hopko's books, although a lot of the stuff that we will discuss during Lent, it will also be in Father Hopko's books, but I thought we can focus a little bit more on the topics, especially of the Sundays of Lent, those 5 Sundays of Lent, and because each one of them is a theme by itself. There is a meaning behind it. There's theology behind it. And the church, for a specific reason, put that Sunday or gave this theme, each of these themes to each of these Sundays. So today we are in the second week of Lent. So this past Sunday was the first Sunday of Lent, the first Sunday of Lent. And as we know, it is called the Sunday of Orthodoxy, Ahad al-Orthodoxiyya. Actually, the official name of it, it's the Sunday of the Triumph of Orthodoxy. The official name of that Sunday, it's called the Sunday of the Triumph of Orthodoxy. Ahad Intisar al-Orthodoxiyya. Ahad Intisar al-Orthodoxiyya. And like I said, it is the first Sunday. The dominant theme of this Sunday, this first Sunday, since 843. Since 843 AD, the church has established this Sunday, the first Sunday of Lent, to be called the Sunday of Orthodoxy since the year 843. Technically, 400, a little bit more after the establishment of the 40-day period for a Great Lent. After the First Ecumenical Council in 325, the church decided to expand the period of fasting in preparation for Pascha, in preparation for Easter. So they expanded it from 3 days, literally, Holy Thursday, Holy Friday, and Holy Saturday, to those 40 days, including, plus the Holy Week, since the 325. So since 843, the church assigned or named it and gave the theme of that Sunday as the theme of the Sunday of the Triumph of Orthodoxy. The dominant theme of the Sunday has been that of the victory of the icons, and that's why the triumph, the Sunday of the Triumph of Orthodoxy. But in a way, we're saying the Sunday of the Triumph of icons. In that year, the iconoclastic controversy, which had raged on and off since 726, and we'll talk about it in a second, why and how, was finally laid to rest. Around for 120 something years, around 120 years, the issue of either we should have icons in the church or should not have icons in the church. How do we approach icons? What do we do with icons? Khalas was laid to rest by 843. Okay, and icons and their veneration were restored on the first Sunday in Lent. So if I'm not mistaken, that was March 11th, 843. I might be wrong, but the date, in the year 843, the first Sunday of Lent was on March 11th, or around that day. This is the first Sunday where the church was like, we're going to give it this name, the Sunday of the Triumph of Orthodoxy. Ever that first Sunday in the year, since the first Sunday of Lent, since 843, the Sunday has been commemorated as the Sunday of the triumph of Orthodoxy. One question can be asked, like, okay, so what was it before? So we said 843, they gave it the name Triumph of Orthodoxy. What did they commemorate before those whatever 300 something years, 400 years? What was commemorated? That's before 843, before the Triumph of Orthodoxy and the established and the laying to rest the issue of of icons, if we should venerate them or no, or if we should have them or no. On the Sunday of First Lent, the first Sunday of Lent, there was they commemorated. There was a commemoration of the prophets of the Old Testament. On that Sunday, they used to commemorate the prophets of the Old Testament. يعني Moses, Aaron, Samuel, Abraham, Isaac, the prophets. It was like kind of a general celebration and a general commemoration of the prophets. Okay, and that's why the if you paid attention to the epistle, what was the epistle on Sunday? I'm just gonna let me see. I'm gonna read a couple. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. It's the epistle on Sunday, this past Sunday. It's St. Paul's letter to the Hebrews, and it says, "Brethren, by faith, Moses, when he was grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to share ill treatment with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasure of sins for a season, esteeming the reproach, yada, yada, yada." And then look what it says. "And what more shall I say? For the time would fail me if I tell you of Gideon, Barak, Samson, David, Samuel, all the prophets who through faith subdued kingdoms, worked righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the power of fire." So the church, because those 400 something years before establishing the Sunday of Orthodoxy, they commemorated the prophets of the Old Testament. Okay, and that's why this epistle, we still, the church didn't change the reading for the epistle, so we still read the same epistle that was read for like, what is it now, 1700 basically. This passage that was always written on that feast. Okay, so traces of this more ancient observance, so the observance of commemorating the prophets, can still be seen in the choice of the epistle reading at the liturgy, at the divine liturgy of this past Sunday. Now, what happened? Why what got this controversy? Why the church started like fighting about this, and why all of a sudden icons and no icons and all of this. The seventh ecumenical council. Okay, the seventh ecumenical council in the church, we had seven major councils. We call them seven ecumenical councils. المجامع المسكونية السبعة بالعربي بنقول. The seven ecumenical councils. There were other councils like small meetings here and there, but seven ecumenical councils. In the seventh one, and technically, whenever we say ecumenical councils, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of bishops and patriarchs and clergy coming from all over the Christian world. يعني, let's say they met in Nicaea, which it's a city in Turkey. People People, came from Alexandria. People came from Rome. People came from England. People came from Far East. So people came from, of course, Jerusalem, Constantinople, Antioch, all of these. So literally, imagine how long it will take them to get there, and imagine how much of a preparation. So in the Seventh Ecumenical Council, which the Church considers that was the last ecumenical council, dealt predominantly with the controversy regarding icons and their place in Orthodox worship. Okay, the Seventh Ecumenical Council convened in Nicaea, it's a city now in Turkey, in 787. 787. But the fight about the icons started before, around 726, but even a few years even before that. And actually, when it started, it was very bloody. And it was bloody for almost 100 years, even after the Seventh Ecumenical Council. So, they convened in Nicaea, the bishops they all came because there was blood. Christians are killing each other. Christians are killing each other, because of that topic, because of the icons, if like we should accept it or not. But usually, the ones who accepted the icons were the ones who were killed. Not so they were what's called iconoclasts. They were zealous Christian groups. Some of them were, of course, lay people, clergy people, priests and deacons and bishops, were killing and torturing Christians who believed or who accepted icons and venerated, and they were venerating icons. Salim, unmute yourself.
Is Nicaea next to Byzantium at the time? Is it just outside Istanbul now, or where? I tried to find it. I didn't see it.
يلا لحظة. Nicaea. I'll tell you exactly where we think it is. So it's literally, I'm going to share my screen. وليد إذا في مجال.
Go ahead.
Nicaea, yeah, Nicaea. 1 second, I just need to go.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, بالعربي من إلا نيقيا. But like if you're looking at it, here it is.
Okay.
This is Nicaea now. It's not a city. Or Iznik, at least it's now called. But like this is where it's just right on Bahr Marmara.
The Asian side of
the Asian, yes, exactly.
Side of Turkey. Okay.
Yeah. Just across from close, technically very close to Constantinople, Istanbul. So let me just go back to my note, please. All right. For that year, for almost 60, 70 years, people were fighting. And then there were reasons for both sides why that fight started. First, they were the Christian people who are with icons. They venerate icons and they use icons and all of this, but they were using them in a very extreme way, to the point as if like they're worshiping the wood. They're worshiping the icons, to the point that they were people, if they were sick, they think by scratching the gold or scratching the colors, the wood from an icon and eating it, that it's going to heal them. So they were Christians who, again, believe in icons and they venerated them, all of this, but they took it too far by doing these very extreme practices, worshiping as if like now the wood was more important than the person. As if like, you're worshiping nothing different than idols. On the other hand, it was very something common done, that they would scratch the gold, or they scratch the painting and the wood and eat it and all of this, thinking that somehow they can get a special power or they can be healed from things. So as a reaction, some people came out and they were like, you know what? We need to stop this. We need to get rid of every single icon and the uses of icons. And we do not depict any, especially Christ in the Theotokos, or of primarily Christ. But that was not the only reason. Yes, that was a malpractice, if I can say, from the Christians who actually accepted icons. But on the other hand, there were also two reasons why there was also Christian groups who did not want icons. One, for political reasons, because Islam was next door. And by the 7th century, the Byzantine Empire already lost a lot of its lands. And they were Christians who thought that at least let us see what can we do to bring يعني how am I going to put this? Basically, let's show Islam that we're just another type. It's almost the same faith in a way, that we worship in one God. We don't worship multiple gods. We don't have gods and idols and all of these things. So they thought somehow if they do that, if they ban iconography, if they ban the icons in the church, somehow Islam will be a little bit more lenient with them, because the empire was losing more and more and more and more, because of the invasions of Islam. That's what was one reason. And the other reason, there was also, even up till 700 something, even up to the 8th century, late 7th century, early 8th century, there were still groups of Christians who could not accept the idea and the fact that God became a full man. Although that was settled, the Orthodox Church in a way settled that, or the Christian Church settled that in the First Ecumenical Council, 325. That no, Jesus is a full God and a full man. But then the other 6 other ecumenical councils, they were still people kind of like, but he can't be, but he's God, and how come a God is going to become a full man? Maybe he looked like a man, maybe he's not then he cannot be God then if he has a humanity in him and all of this. So even at that point in the 7th Ecumenical Council in the 8th century and 7th century, 8th century, there were still people believing that Jesus was not a full man. He was a God. He was merely or mainly God, divine, and therefore he could not be depicted in any way or another. Maybe good. And see, all of this came together to cause this bloodshed among the Christians themselves.
But it's always the case, Abuna, that all throughout history, that the extremes end up in violence.
Exactly. So both took it, because again, the people who are venerating, who are accepting icons, some of them took it to the extreme by doing these things that I've told you. And but the problem was, look, the other extreme reaction. And who was, in the end, who took, the hit? Those people who had nothing, they still wanted to venerate icons, and we talk why we need to venerate icons and all of these things, and we don't worship them. But basically, we have a lot of martyrs and people who died for that, because of that. Okay, and then who usually so the 7th Ecumenical Council had to be convened. They were like, okay, the church was like, okay, there's so much killing, there's so much controversy, we need to meet. And who insisted on meeting? Guess who? The Empress. The Empress, and her name was Irene. Why? Do you want to assume, suggest why?
Because she's seeing them fighting and the Muslims are surrounding them.
Exactly. Even from the First Ecumenical Council, most of the councils, they were pushed by basically the emperors and the civil authorities, because they were like, hold on a second, we have other problems outside we have to deal with. We cannot be divided. So you better come together and fix your problems, because I cannot afford, the emperors and the kingdom or the empire cannot afford losing people, by fighting each other, because they need these people to fight the barbarians, to fight the people outside. So Empress Irene in 787 was like, okay, people, come on, we need to get together. And of course, the church wanted, but the civil authorities facilitated all of these, all these meetings, and to get the bishops and to, and they, the empress participated, Empress Irene participated, in this. She was in the midst of the discussions and all of this. So in 787, and by the way, there were 367 bishops who came together. We're not talking about priests. We're not talking about other, deacons. Or 367 bishops came from all over the Christian world to come and discuss this. And of course, in those 367, they were bishops who were against icons. And that's why there was no fighting, because that's where the government here is like, okay, you guys need to debate this and behave. And from this, it has to come out something that we need, to get to, to agree on, and and you fix that problem and unite ourselves against the outside. So they met in 787 by Empress Irene. Of course, the patriarch's name was Tarasius, Patriarch of Constantinople. His name is Tarasius. And they discussed it. And in this Seventh Ecumenical Council on 787, the church as a whole agreed that we venerate icons, and icons have a huge role in our faith, that you cannot be called a Christian and you do not consider you don't have icons, or you don't believe in icons. The church was very clear that you cannot call yourself a true Christian and somehow you refuse you do not accept the venerations of icons. And that was in 787. But Mr. Walid, yes, I see
no,
you.
I was going to say that's another extreme.
No. The extreme will become the extreme. No, because there is no extreme in this now, because it's telling you this is a crucial part of our faith. Like the same way we say the virginity of the Theotokos, like the other aspects of the faith. We're not saying we're going to kill you if you don't believe in this. We're not saying that you need to eat a piece of wood from icons, but the church had to in the end say, you know what, to define this is, we got together and this is what we all discussed through the Holy Spirit, that this is this is an aspect of the faith that we have to settle it this way.
Actually, this was before the split, so that was the only Christian faith at that time. Yes.
Well, Walid, no, we did have multiple small groups. And actually by that time, we have, it's not a small group, the Coptics, the Syriac, and all the Armenians, and all of this, by this time, we already have them established. They had their own church. Then the biggest schism happened when the main church that never deviated, then a big part of it left, and what became the Catholic Church. But even before, because by the 450, you had already the Orthodox, the Christian Church, the main Christian Church under the Byzantine Empire, but you also had another Christian Church, which is what we call the Monophysites, the one who the Coptics, the Syriac, the Armenians, the Eastern Orthodox, beside the Byzantine Orthodox, if I can say. Okay, so they got together. They decided in 787. Say hello. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi.
I love you. Or get a small chair. So, but it didn't end there. The church.
So, Father.
Yes, Abia.
So, Father, Constantinople was already under occupation, under Islamic.
No, but they were right there at the doors. It hasn't fell. Constantinople falls in 1453, but the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, was huge. But by the 6th, 7th, 8th century, started shrinking. Already lost Jerusalem. already lost a lot of places in Antioch, already lost a lot of places in Europe from other, from barbarians and some, from Germanic attacks and all of this. But Constantinople itself, and that's why they were able to meet, because Constantinople itself, in surrounding areas, it was still under the Byzantine Empire. Okay, but instead of being one of the, it's not anymore. By the 6th, 7th century, 8th century, the Byzantine Empire started like shrinking. 1453 مثل ما بيقولوا بالعربي انمحيت. 1453 it was خلاص. The city of cities, Constantinople, gets sacked, and then everything, خلاص, there was no more a Byzantine Empire. But the problem, the seventh ecumenical council met at 787, and they decided, we can venerate icons now, and it's a crucial part of our faith. But actually, they couldn't enforce it. The fight still happened. The fight was kept going till the year 843. It just, after 787, it just kept dying little. But it took 13 years, and then 56 years after the Seventh Ecumenical Council. So on the first Sunday of Lent in the year 843, it kind of like died. The people who were against iconography and against icons, just like khalas, they were either given up or they were dying. There was no more a big movement against icons. And then at that point in the year 843, there was also another empress, and I'm not joking here. Well, in both occasions, who got the bishops to come together the first time? An empress. Who got them the second time, basically pushed to get things done? Another empress. So you want things done, you give them to ladies. As a man, with all the respect to all of us race of men, but it seems like you want something done, you just give it to the ladies. Shout out to our ladies, but we're also we do good things in the end, But the point, it's interesting that in both situations, so in 843, 56 years later, Empress Theodora, with her son Michael III, walked from a church in Constantinople to Hagia Sophia, holding icons, and they had a procession from the church of the palace, if I can say, to the church of the main church of the patriarchate of the empire. And that's why we now do a procession. That's why we do the procession. We had the children walk and all of this, because in the year 843, 1200 years ago, that's what they did. They did a procession led by the empress and her son, the emperor, all raising icons and walking, and went from one church to Hagia Sophia, the church of Flacherna, I think it's called, to Hagia Sophia. In the beginning, in 787, there was not much. The civil authorities, the emperors, they just wanted, in a way, probably the empress didn't care. I don't know, but they just wanted people to talk and get to a decision. I don't think they were probably favoring this or that, favoring the icons or not favoring the icons. That was not their interest. Their interest was like, stop killing each other, because we have more, much worse problems to deal with outside of the kingdom, outside of the empire. In 843, the empress was like, no, we're doing this. And they claimed now not only the church, but also the civil authorities stamped the usage of icons in the faith. Any questions about at least historically what happened? So since 843, the church established in Nukhalas, this Sunday, the first Sunday of Lent, we're going to call it from now on the Sunday of the triumph of Orthodoxy, the Sunday of triumph of icons. Any questions before I continue?
Father, I missed the beginning point
Mhm. Oh,
of where did they walk from from where to where?
Zabia, I lost you for a second.
I think she's asking where was the procession from to?
Oh, if that was your question, so it's from a church in a town called the Vlacherna, which is right outside of Constantinople. Vlacherna to Constantinople, from the church in Vlacherna to the church of Hagia Sophia. And I think the church of Vlacherna, I think that it's the church of the palace, I think. Don't quote me on this, but it's just another beautiful church, but not as big as Hagia Sophia. And that's where they marched. They marched there in a procession in public for all the people to see that we are holding icons. That the icons, usage of icons in the church is a crucial part of our faith. Without it, you cannot claim that you're, like I said, a Christian without, venerating icons, or at least icons playing a role in our faith. Muna, I see your hand up.
Yeah, hi, Abuna.
Hey.
I have a question about the other churches. They don't believe in icons at all, and they say they are true Christians.
Mm.
I mean, are they really? I don't know. We are the true Christian. Orthodoxy is,
Hey.
but they seems like there are like the true Christians. No, we're not.
Well, because sure. So the same way we believe that we have the right faith, and that's why we're called Orthodox, that we never deviated. They claim, Allah, the people, like, we have the right. I mean, they have the right faith because what happened? They look at stuff like when happened the Seventh Ecumenical Council, that it was like such a bad thing, but they only woke up, somehow another 1,000 years later that they come out with these things. Yeah, and you look at all these other churches who do not believe in icons, or some non-denominational Protestant or whatever. Where were you, 1,300 years ago? You just started a couple hundred years. All of a sudden, the church now woke up, 200 years ago and said, "Oh yeah, this is the true faith." The true faith is like, "Oh no, not accepting the icons." What was then before? I mean, the church had to deal with always these small groups of like believing something, coming out with their own teachings about the church since day one. So it's not new. They claim this, fine. In the end, our job is not to judge them. Right? No, okay. They want, they claim that they're the true Christians, but they don't believe in icons, or like, fine. That's their thing. But we'll talk more about, in a few minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what is actually the true icon. Who is actually the true icon? But Mafi orthodoxy, you can't you say, well, I'm Orthodox, but I do not, I don't have icons in my house. I don't believe in icons. I don't see the point of icons. I don't want to touch an icon. No. You can, if you are part of that Orthodox faith, Orthodox church, you have like icons. It's not a pick and choose, and that's the church as a whole for 1,300 years. But actually, not 1,300 years. We have icons, depicted on walls of churches since like 3rd century. Right, is the church barely coming together, as an institution, if I can say, and already was established. So we've always had icons for the last 1,700, 1,800 years. So I don't know if that's answers it.
Yeah, thank you, Abuna. Thank you.
Like, they claim that we're the true Christian, that they are true Christians, but because they don't believe in icons, and this is idol worshipers. It's like, but it's not. And we're going to talk about it. You know,
I mean, now these days there's a lot of dominations, like a new church dominations, new
Mhm.
Christ, like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these churches. It's just, oh my God, it's just like nonstop,
It's the easy, by the way, it's the easiest thing in the United States. I was reading an article. The easiest business to start in the United States, open up a church. It's just the
Nobody's going to
easiest.
argue with you, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to tell you you're wrong, so they don't
Exactly.
argue with you. That's why.
Exactly. I think there are two or three, or I looked that up, 2 or 3 requirements, like space,
I think 15 signatures, Father.
something, yeah, like a minimum of people, like a minimum number, and then a space dedicated for worship, and there's something else. I don't know, but something like there's a minimal number that you have to have, and Deacon said 15, and then there's a space designated, like, basically this is a place, this is where we worship, even if it's a living room of somebody, and then that's it. And we'll talk. In the end, hypocrisy is something very common among us, but also common sense. If we cannot accept something but deny something else, and I'll talk about this in a second. So this is what I told you. I cannot say this on a Sunday, of course, because this. Oh, Zabia, you had your hand up. I think I saw your hand too. But drive safe.
No, Father.
Okay.
No, my Zoom is acting weird, but because I'm driving.
Okay, drive safe. So that is like historically how it came to us now that we celebrate that Sunday of Orthodoxy. Okay, so if somebody asks you, like, why are you doing this the first Sunday of Lent? Well, because 1200 years ago at 843, there was actually the church came together and established that Sunday to be the Sunday of triumph of Orthodoxy, triumph of icons, after 100 years of war within the church to accept or to deny icons. Okay, at least that's historically. Now we talk a little bit more of like, okay, why? What is all of this? What is it theologically for us, and what is important for us? So, the name of this Sunday reflects the great significance which icons possess for the Orthodox Church. They are not optional devotional extras, but an integral part of Orthodox faith and devotion. They are held to be a necessary consequence of Christian faith in the incarnation of the Word of God, the second person of the Trinity in Jesus Christ. They have, I'm just going to read, this isn't like a nice thing, but like I'll explain it more of. They have a sacramental character, making present to the believer the person or event depicted on them. Okay, making present to the believer the person or event depicted on them. So the interior of Orthodox churches is often covered with icons painted on walls and domed roofs, and there is always an icon screen, the iconostasis, right, separating the sanctuary from the nave, often with several rows of icons. No Orthodox home is complete without an icon corner. By its, sorry, I need to go check my eyes now. No Orthodox home is complete without an icon corner where the family prays. The theme of the victory of the icons by its emphasis on the incarnation points us to the basic Christian truth that the one whose death and resurrection we celebrate at Pascha and Easter was none other than the Word of God who became human in Jesus Christ. This is nice talk. What is it like? How? Let me see if I can, talk about it more practical way. As I said before, there was a group of Christians, even 800 years after Christ, 700 something years after Christ came and died and resurrected. They could not fathom, they could not accept the idea, that's not an idea, the fact that he was 100% human. Okay? But there were these people, the church always regarded them, they're outside the church. This is more important than icons. Before even you think about icons, you cannot believe in Jesus that he's God or he's divine and not human or some kind of a human. We believe 100% human, 100% divine. So because he became human like us, flesh and everything, and tears and sweat and all of this, and joy and all of this, now he bridged it. He bridged basically what is divine with what is human. And I talked about this a little bit on Monday after the compliance service. So if you were there or you listen, you're going to listen to some of the stuff that I said, the same thing I said. So it's always, in the history of faith, if I can say, from Judaism to all of these, faith, there was always, the God is always in a far place. The God, whatever God they believe or gods they believed in, they're all like they're far, they're away. There is a gap. There's no way you can get to them. There's no way they can come to us. They're always angry. They always like ready to kill us, ready to fight us, ready to, challenge us and all of this. And then Christianity came and, we believe, and Jesus Christ came and says, no. There is no, it's just, what is the meaning of life if there's no relationship between who created life? Like what was the point of creation then? What was the point of somebody creating something, that doesn't want anything to do with it? So we believe that Christ came and he was the bridge. He was the bridge that connected the divine with humanity, right? That's why he had to be 100% human and 100% God. So at least he can understand both creation, the creator, and creation, what was created. But the thing is, he was not just the way. He was just not like the connection. He was the connection and the end goal. Yani, in what way? Somebody's telling you, look, come visit me. Come visit me, and you always say, well, you're too far. I can't get to you. And I said the same example on Monday. I said our relationship with God is like God is telling us, like, come visit me. It's like your mother, right? Or somebody like that. Come visit me. You haven't been, we haven't seen each other for a long time. We haven't connected. We haven't, talked. We haven't hugged. We haven't, kissed. We haven't. And then God is telling us, okay, fine. You cannot come. I'll come get you. But I'm not going to send you an Uber. I'm not going to tell you, go on the bus or go on the plane or, hey, make your, find your way to me. I'll just pay your way, I'll pay your way there. No. Christ in a way is telling you, stay where you are then. I'm going to come to you, put you on my shoulder. I'll hold you. I'll pick you up and take you to me and elevate you. Literally, that's how we see it. So now we have part of this divinity. If Christ now, he's the connection and he joined us with the creator as we believe, but there's no more this gap. There's no more of like, Islam thing, even some Protestant groups. God is angry. God is always in the back there and is like waiting to hit us. And, no, Christianity says, authentic Christianity says, no, people, I love you. I created you and I love you. And I want to give you a chance. You messed up, yes. And I need to punish you. But like, I still want you. Never intended to break the gap. Imagine God created something that he does not like. He's not God then. How can he create something? Because everything that he's created, what does he say after every single day when he created something? He created heaven. He says, it was good. Created earth. It was good. Created. And then when he created man, he was like, what did he say? Does it say in the scriptures when he created man, after he created man? And it was?
In his own image.
Bravo. But what did he use? Instead of saying good, he said it was after he created man, look at Genesis. And that is very good. What kind of God who doesn't know then if he's like good, at some point he's good and then later is not good? No. So we know in our essence, we're good because God created us good. The problem is what we do with this goodness that he gave us. The point is to go back to icons. So now, if he became like us, and he was in the flesh, he was not just in the flesh as a prophet. Now, we don't believe this. We don't believe in Allah. He was in the flesh as a prophet. Or no, he was in the flesh and he is God, 100% God. Not only when he was out of the womb, of his mother, or till he was 30, or till whatever. Even when he was like a piece of, like a size of a chickpea in the womb of his mother. We believe that this chickpea size, baby, embryo in the virgin's belly, in the virgin womb, that he's 100% God. So now he become, if he's God, like he's God, becoming man, khalas. So what we see in front of us, what we see, when he came to earth, we're not only looking at Jesus the man, we're looking at Jesus the God, the creator. And that's what we believe. Now you tell me like it's hard to grasp. It's not like it is, hard to grasp, but that's our belief. We believe that the Christ in his full body, we're not only looking at as a full human, but also we're looking at somebody who is fully divine. And now that he's fully human, we can depict him in pictures. We can draw him. We can see him. That's why Jews don't have that mentality. That's why they don't have icons. Islam don't have that mentality. Why? Because they don't have that, that's why they don't have icons. They don't have that icon because they don't have that mentality. Because the mentality of the Jews and the Muslims and the Islam, that God is like far away. There's a huge gap. There's no connection. I mean, God, once in a while, he'll send us somebody to tell us how we're doing or something. Sends us prophets and stuff. But Christianity came and says, no. There's no more gap. Christ bridged this gap between us. And now because he did this, we're able to depict him, to see him, to see, Jesus on a picture. But then this picture, this icon, then we venerate it the same way we have pictures of our children in our home and our parents. Don't you sometimes grab the picture and kiss it of your loved one? How many of us did that? Are we crazy if we do that? Would we be considered crazy if we do that? Why? Out of love. We see, I read it, where is it? There's a beautiful line here. Carnation, there's a beautiful, I just want to, raged before the trial of immersion. In my notes, I can, I'll find it in a second. Predominantly was convened to song proclaim and prayer. Second which icon, they are not sure. Oh, making present, the icons make present to the believer the person or event depicted on them. Okay, when we hold the picture of our loved ones, they're not there physically, but as if they're there, right? How many of us even talk to it and say, oh, how beautiful. Oh, I miss you or something. What's wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with that? And that's how we see in icons. Halla, you tell me now, you're gonna, I don't know, you go out to dinner and if somebody says, hey, who do you going out with to dinner? And you say, I'm going out with my, I don't know, daughter. Who's like, I don't see your daughter. Oh yeah, I have her picture and I'm gonna, then there's an extreme thing now. Then there's some kind of an extreme. We can have extreme, practices that then, hold on a second. Now you're going too much on this. There's a problem now with this. But in a normal way, pictures at the end, to make us, exactly, this line is so beautiful. They make present to the believer the person or event depicted on them. So we don't worship them, we venerate them. And what do we do when venerate them? We kiss it. We put a candle in front of it. We sense it. Right? Because we venerate. We do not worship it. Mam na'bida. Right? We say mam na'bida. Min karrama. we honor it, we venerate it. And that's why, but at the end of the day, then, what is and who is the best icon? And remember, making present, the icon is making present to the believer the person or event depicted on them. Who is the icon then?
Mankind.
People, yes. We are the true icons. Right? In the end of the day, all of us are the icons, because in the end, if God bridged himself and connected us and became one of us, then we're supposed to be the ones who are going to, again, this beautiful line, we have to make present God, we have to make God present to the people who are looking at it. So we as humans, we're the one, when people look at us, the same way when we see the icons, and look at our icons, you don't see, and with all due respect to other faith, to all due respect to other faith, we don't, some of the icons where they show Jesus blue eyes, or like this big I can't even talk, this big red heart, and like somehow like reach, no. When we look at the icon, we're learning from it about the life of Jesus. We're learning about it, the theology, we're learning the Bible behind it. That's why our icons, we say, it's also common to say that the icons are windows. What do you do with the window? So we can see, right? See through, see something beyond this, behind it. So us, at the end of the day, what good about it if I have 500 icons at home, but I'm not being the right icon? I am not acting like an icon. Right? So that's in the end. And Murad, now I want to answer this too. People who deny icons, they better not have any picture of any of their loved ones in their homes. Or not only loved ones, of anything, pictures. People who deny icons should not, then they're what do you call it? Double standard. Or they're, they're not acting, they don't think wise, or they have something wrong with their brain. If they don't believe it, if they don't accept icons in churches, why do they accept pictures in their homes? Why do they accept pictures of even I don't know, on their phones, pictures of nature, picture of their dog? Why? Then they're crazy, according to their own saying. Oh, we don't, because we're worshiping idols. No one is saying we're worshiping. We venerated the icon. If we would have said we're worshiping icons, of course, then they're right. Anyway, we won't be called Christians. We won't be the Orthodox Christians. But people who's like, oh, icons, oh, no, then I will have respect to you, to the person, as much as I would not agree with him or her if they say, we don't believe in icons, and the icon, usage of icon is wrong. I have a respect for them if they have no pictures whatsoever of anything. They don't believe in cameras. They don't have pictures of their friends, their family, their loved ones, their dogs, their cats, their birds, the place of like, Hawaii, the island, because, I can't wait to go back, or I can't wait to go there. But that's the whole point of the icon. That's why the icons in the churches, why do we depict the whole church in icons? And we want to make sure we have more icons. Because when you enter the church, you'll be like, you take your brain and mind out of this world and you'll be like with them. The same way when you look at your picture of your son, daughter, mother, father, grandfather, and you wish as if like you keep remembering and reminding yourself with all these beautiful things that you've done with them, or looking forward to do stuff like this. Right or wrong? I mean, that's why it was,
You are absolutely right, Abuna.
you know, um, I'm just, give me 1 second. I do want to, I mean, I should have had that before, but I do want to tell you what is, it's actually icon in Greek, the etymology of it. To seem or to be like. Icons come from the word icona, meaning to seem or to be like, right? Because they bring to mind, they bring present to us, the person. Now you tell me, okay, hold on a second, because I want to make sure I'm trying to get it covered from all the sides. Then you come and say, why then we need to have icons of saints? Then it's just Jesus then, or the Theotokos. And even with the Theotokos, the Virgin Mary, we always have Jesus. She's always 99%. You don't see icons of Christ, the Theotokos by herself, right? We've said that. So it's like, oh, why are the saints? Well, that's the same, because in the end, they are windows. We have no problem with depicting also the saints who lived a righteous life. We have no problem depicting them, because in the end, they are a window. Because they are a window to lead us to Christ. They are a window to lead us to Christ. Deacon just sent me a direct message. How about literacy in the past? Yes, that it was on the practical way, and it's thank you for reminding me with this, Deacon. One also but first I want to make sure that we know the theology of it, because now we can't say, well, okay, now everybody reads, or a lot of people read. It's not like before, so why do we need the icons then? Just get rid of the icons, right? But that's why for me, it's very important for us to know theologically why. Khalas. We believe Christ came and became one of us. He became one of us. He became flesh. When he did this, khalas, he's one of us. Then we have the whole right to depict him. But like Deacon reminded me, thank you so much, Deacon, about this. It was a great help. Iconography was a great help for people who did not know how to read and write in the old days, which not like now. I mean, back in the old days, in the early church, the majority of people did not know how to read or write, right? So iconography, iconography was great to help people understand the gospel. So all the events in the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, were depicted in pictures to help the people who cannot read, to help them understand what this Bible is about. So it's a very good point. But in the end, there's a much deeper meaning. Because like I said, now people can say, okay, 99% of people are literate, and they can read and write. Then, okay, get rid of these icons. No, even if everybody reads, I spoke for a whole hour. No, okay. That's what I wanted to, and that's how the church, it was in a way in divine intervention, I can say, that this happened. On the first Sunday of Lent, now we are on our path, right? Lent is like a passage. We're going from darkness to meet the light of Christ, the light of resurrection. And we need to know who this Christ that we're going to meet. That's why the church is telling us here, by the way, this guy that you're going to meet and you believe like you're going toward him, for Pascha, to celebrate with him Pascha and celebrate his resurrection, you need to know who he is really. He's not just like a mere God or some kind of a man, a human being. No. It's very important that in the end of the day, this guy that you're worshiping, this guy that you're praying for and asking forgiveness and all of this is who he is. He's a full God and a full man. He's not like, we don't know or we don't care. No, it's very important for us who we are worshiping. That's what I had for today. Any questions about this? Next Thursday, we'll talk more about, next Thursday, we'll talk more about the second Sunday of Lent. I'll start on Sunday, God willing, with, half an hour, 45-minute sermon.
I thought you had service next Thursday.
Oh, we have, bravo. Thank you, Nancy. We don't have next Thursday.
Yeah.
It's the Feast of Annunciation. It's the night before the Feast of Annunciation. Eid al-Bshara. It's Matthew's birthday, the 24th.
Oh.
Yeah. We always wanted to give him name Matthew, but his Sonia, we gave Sonia an Arabic middle name, Noor, Sonia Noor. So with Matthew, we wanted to give him a Greek middle name. So his due date was actually March 25th. So we were like, yes. And then we're like, how about if he comes up before his due date or after his due date? So we had, Alexis Khoury and I, we had a discussion, a plan. If he comes out close, because that past, when he was born in 2020, the March 25th fell on the third Sunday, the fourth week of Lent. So the Sunday before was actually the Sunday of the elevation of the cross. So we were like, okay, if he's close to the Sunday, we're going to name him Matthew Stavros. Stavros is the Greek word for cross. Matthew Stavros. And if he is born closer to March 25th or on March 25th, he'll be Matthew Panayoti. Panayoti, it's for Panagia, it's a name for the all holy, for the Theotokos, basically. The Panayotis, it's the male version.
في واحد جارنا من بيت بنايوتي.
شفت? Now you know what he means. But so yes, thank you, Nancy, for reminding. Next Thursday, Allah will have a service on Thursday night, the Vesper service with 5 loaves. We'll do it, a major feast in the church. And then the next day, on Friday, the church calls us for 2 options. Either we do a liturgy in the morning on Friday, and then we'll do the Akathist at night, or we can do the liturgy at night and the Akathist, only half of it done. So the second half of the Akathist will be added to the end of the liturgy at night. Anyway, we'll talk more about this, in the announcements. But like now on this topic or any other, I don't know if you have anything on this topic, any questions about icons, why this and the icons, why this? I mean, last year, if you remember, the ladies hosted Khoury Erin Kimmett, who's a beautiful major iconographer in our Archdiocese, and she spoke a lot about theology of icons, but also, why the nose is like this and what is it an icon and what kind of style and all of this. So I don't know much about styles and stuff. I know some, but if you have anything against about the theology, all of this, I can answer, or even some artsy stuff and icons, I know, more than glad to help. Or we can end the recording and we can go to general, whatever it is. Marie?
Abuna, I have a question. Like, what do we do, for example, with icons that are on paper, that are old? Can we burn them? I mean, I know we cannot throw them in the trash, but are those considered icon just like on a paper? Like
2 things, either recycling or burning. Now,
so we can't throw them in the recycling bin?
Yeah, well, they're gonna be, there's something that become at least good. They're not just like thrown with the trash. So either recycling or burning. Recycling or burning. Now we have a lot of some icons that we need, well, not all, anything in the church, anything liturgical, anything that has to do with the church, either you bury it, if you cannot, either you recycle it, you bury it, or you burn it. I burned a lot of stuff from the church that we had, we replaced.
Or maybe put it in the woods somewhere where it's not reachable. Is that also an option?
You mean I'm sorry.
Like in the woods, like somewhere where people are not stepping in.
bury it, bury it, bury it, burn it, or recycle it. Anything in liturgical, anything that somehow it was in the church, used in the church for whatever, reason or.
Actually, what Marie, I'm sorry, finish.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, what Marie brought up brings up a question. Every Sunday, our bulletin has an icon. So I feel like, I wonder what we do with them. And I mean, I'm putting them in the fireplace when I bring them.
So, we give a lot to Stephanos to take for recycling. Here's where, sometimes you might, in the end, when we say an icon, like it was prayed over, it was
consecrated.
And at least we prayed over it. We sprinkled, like a lot of people now. What do? They bring an icon, either if it's a paper icon or on wood, and they say, Abuna, can you pray over it? And then we, khalas Haidi, we want to make sure that it's going in the end, either recycling or burning, if any, In the end of the day, even bulletin, I mean, to the point we probably should, even with bulletin, I hope, how we try to Noemi, God bless her, she has them all kind of stacked, and some of them she take with her, and some Stephanos take, because we don't have in DC, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I get to learn, that we don't have like a free day, like in our cities or towns, that they just here in Warrenton they come every Wednesday, take the recycling. They don't do that, especially for, I guess, businesses. They don't do that in DC in businesses. At least that's what I learned, that if we want to do recycling, it's a service that we have to basically sign up for and and do that. So for now we're trying, the 50, 60 bulletins that we print. Even the services, even the text for the services, that's in a way that's a holy words, right? Holy text. We try to, Noemi takes some, Stephanos takes some, at least whatever left and stuff. But honestly, I never looked up, what would cost. Is it like a $50 something, $50 a month because of what we have, because we don't have that much of. It's not like we're like gallons of, like huge bags of every week that we need to throw. It's like those 50s, some of the bulletins and some of the text that we, the text that we use. I never actually looked up and says, is it like a $200 a month thing, or is it a $20, membership?
A lot of times it should be included with your garbage service. Like my garbage service also does recycling.
So Tina, we need to look more into this, but what I understood, that because you're a business, it's a separate thing.
Oh, okay.
Because they're afraid it's not, I mean, how much in your own home, how much recycling you're going to have.
Right.
But then in the businesses, where do they draw the line? If somebody has bag, a huge bag, or, we can't just say, well, we're only a business, business with okay, but we can't treat you differently than somebody else. So I guess for businesses, they have, Eleni, I see your hand.
I know what Johnny does. He goes every 2 weeks to the place next to our office to shred everything.
Yeah.
He shreds all kind of private information.
Yeah, I mean, we either, even to bring a company to shred and they take them to recycle.
No, that's expensive with the product.
It is, it is a charge. And, I mean, even if you need to take them to the dump, like here in Warrenton, there's actually the Fauquier County dump like 2 minutes from us. It's not an easy thing, somebody has to take them and, Eleni?
Just a question back on iconoclasm. So with Empress Irene, it was basically, she was dealing with Christians, with like extreme Christians. Mm-hmm. And then when Empress Theodora, yes. Mm-hmm. And then Empress Theodora, when she came along later, was hers more with the Ottomans and not really dealing with the Christians, or because it's?
So So here's the so with Irene, they all had both empresses. They still had to deal with everybody, inside and outside. But by the time the Ecumenical Council came together and issued, those statements about the belief, how to do the icons, the internal conflict started to die. But it took 56 years to die. So when the time of Empress Theodora came, it was kind of easier to okay, now 99% of Christians are, of the empire, of the Byzantine Empire are with icons. I'm going to hold my icons and walk. So both empresses were dealing with the outside. From the inside, with Irene, she had a much bigger conflict between the Christians. By the time the Ecumenical Council took place and the edict was issued about icons, and then 56 years later, people kind of okay, less and less people were fighting the icons. So Theodora was more of relaxed to come out with bold like this and do.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I like questions. It gets me, they get me to think.
Did you stop the recording?
No. Make sure you keep your smile on, Jamil. Jamil.
Are we ready to stop the recording?
We're still talking about icons. So
yeah,
that's other questions than icons. Exactly. If you have any questions outside of icons, yeah, we can stop and we can say the prayers, or that's it for the day. Whatever. Hold on, there's a question in the.
Muna, go ahead. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah. Abuna, I have a question. Why majority of the Muslims they believe in Virgin Mary?
Hey, let's stop the recording and then we'll. All right. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and now and ever unto ages of ages. Amen. We thank you, O Lord, for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Give us your love and never cease your love and strength to sanctify us. For thou art holy now and ever unto ages of ages. Amen. Deacon, but I